Hi everyone, this is Deborah. So today we're going to talk about my mother again. Hopefully you enjoyed the milk video last week. My mother was not fancy. She really didn't have the money to be fancy. But I think even if she did have the money, she probably still wouldn't be fancy. I can count the times that she was at a beauty parlor on one hand. She was a country girl. She was raised during the the 30s, during the Depression, and she sometimes wore cardboard shoes, right, and to school. Whoa, I got a boo-boo here. And some of her dresses were made from flour sacks. And her father was a bad drunk, a really bad drunk. He would chase her around the house with a loaded shotgun. Now, this came out of my mother's own mouth, right? So if any of her siblings are watching this, and I know that some of them probably do stalk me, just know that this came out of my mother's own mouth. They actually had to send her to live with her grandmother. My mother never talked about this. All I know is that she never felt like she was a member of the family because of that. And believe me, her siblings treated her very badly. I know her sister only visited her, I think, twice in her whole life. Yeah, not too often. So my mother was heavy set, and I know it bothered my mother. And my sisters were heavy set. They always had a weight problem. I vowed to always watch what goes in my mouth, right? I vowed to always be conscious of my diet. So my mother didn't have a husband that cared too much about the yard, so I took over that responsibility. I had no choice. I was embarrassed to death. Getting off the school bus, so I took it upon myself to get to take care of the yard. My mother was the type that if you were sick, she was at your house. She was at your house taking care of you. She, as far as I know, I don't think she ever wore makeup. Now, I do remember when I was like in first or second grade, I saw that she did have some mascara. It was that old-fashioned mascara. And earrings. I know that she had a set of earrings, but other than that, she never wore jewelry. She never had a wardrobe to speak of. I remember she wore the same pair of pants, I think, forever. So, she was married to my dad, who was extremely handsome. And I remember towards when I was a teenager, they would fight a lot because she was always accusing him of messing around. But I don't think my father had it in him to go looking for it, if you know what I mean. One of my aunts told me that he didn't have to go look for it, right? So my mother was a wonderful, caring person. And I remember going once a month. She would be in a bad mood, so that's when we knew it was her time of month. We did not have structure growing up, and that really hurt all of us. We were never given a bedtime. She never checked our homework. I remember changing my report card from a D to a C. I got really good at this, people. I never applied myself because I knew my parents had not gone to college. My father went into the Army after he only had a 7th grade education. My mother, I don't know. I have a feeling she may have gotten pregnant with me before she got married, because I saw their marriage license and the figures just didn't add up. But her family was everything. Her children were everything. And she sacrificed a lot. She was like my father's right-hand man. My father did a ceramic tile, and I grew up at the ceramic tile warehouses in Springfield, Virginia, Cherrydale. She was always picking up tile, and she was a very good cook, a Southern cook, I think, which hurt a lot of us with our weight because, you know, like everything is fried. Nothing fancy, but a Southern cook. But Southern cooks are like Paula Deen, are something to be celebrated, believe me. I remember watching her make a pie, and I became a very adept pie maker myself. But my mother expected us to be in church 3 times a week. My brother even went to a Christian school on West Ox Road. I think it was Bethlehem Baptist. I even got married in that church because I wanted to get married at the biggest church in Fairfax County, and I did. But yeah, my brother was treated a little bit different than us girls. And I'm kind of glad that happened. He was the only boy. So my mother tried 3 times or 4 times to have him. So my mother was very conflicted because she was very resentful when my dad did take off from work. He would go hunting, and, you know, back then the hunting was really more about the drinking, or, you know, or whatever. So my mother expected us to go to church, and she would not let me date anybody until they'd been to church at least 2 times wearing a suit. And there was one gentleman that did do that, and he's since passed. He had a Chevelle in high school, and it was a gorgeous Chevelle. But he was not my type, but he did think enough of me to go to the church and to adhere to my mother's rules. But my mother was a little bit crazy about sex. We never talked about sex in our house. And I think when I became a mother, I didn't want that rigidness. And I was very open with my children, especially when they were teenagers, about sex. So when I became married and become a mother, I wanted to always have a nice yard. I spent a lot of time on my yard, and that's why I wear makeup, because my mother never did. My mother never had a wardrobe. That's why I have a wardrobe. So I just wanted to do everything opposite of my mother, you know. So I'm gonna have to cut my hair. Oh my God, just too long, and I can't comb it out right. But hindsight is 2020. I had listened to my mother about dating my fiance at the time. But I think teenage girls have a very hard time listening to their mother, because me and both of my sisters, not my little sister, but both of my sisters, we all left home at 16 and moved in with my mother's brother, who has also passed. He lived on Walney Road in Chantilly. He had a very big business, and his wife was the matron of honor at my wedding. So, yeah. So, yeah, my brother was treated much differently than us. So he was like the king of the house, right? I resented this a lot. And then as I got older, I realized it's not his fault. It's my parents' fault that put him on a pedestal. We were never allowed to touch him or to smack him, but he would kick the hell out of us with his cowboy boots. But he is, I'm very proud of him. He's turned his life around and he's very successful now. But for years, yeah, us girls, we were like not as important as he was. My mother she had an addiction. You want to guess what it was? She was addicted to the phone. Now, this is when the phone company, where you paid for every call, every long distance call. Of course, things changed up 30 years later, but sometimes my mother's phone bill was $1,000. She was always on the phone because she had a lot of brothers and she had one sister. But yeah, she was very much addicted to the phone, and my father would have such angst over this because when he had his heart attack and he was on disability or whatever, his whole check would go to pay the phone bill. It was horrible. But they both are buried in the big farm that they had in Northumberland. They're buried right in the front yard. You can do that, people. So, yeah, they're buried next to each other. There's one funeral plot right next to them, but I intend to be cremated. I don't want to be in the ground rotting for the rest of my life. I would just say, get it over with. Just cremate my ass. So, so that's a little bit about my mother. She was a very religious. I never saw her drink. I never saw her smoke. We were raised in a pretty strict household, definitely. My father, on the other hand, he could give a crap if we came home at all. All right, bye, everybody.